Yesterday we had seen about area optimization and timing optimization. Power optimization we need to continue today. Now we need to know first why power optimization is required. Of course, it is required for an economical circuit that is there. But what is the other than this reason for power optimization to be so important? You all know that we use many mobile battery operated devices, including your mobile phone. So, cell phones, PDAs, portable media player, all these devices are an example of embedded system, and they are all run on a battery operated, mobile battery operated. So if your power optimization is good, these things will run for a longer time with the single battery charge. Otherwise we may have to keep on charging it, or we will have to make a large battery for it. So that is why it is important that power optimization need to be taken care in a design of any embedded system. Now, where and all we need to look into to optimize power. You all know that whatever electrical power is consumed by a circuit, some part of it is involved in the functioning of the circuit. Apart from that, some part turns into heat, which need to be dissipated through the chip. And this heat dissipation, because of this power dissipation or heat dissipation of a chip, is also one of the motive of system packaging. Packaging need to take care to dissipate this generated heat while a circuit is operating. So if your circuit is consuming more power, in turn it will dissipate more heat, and this additional heat dissipation also adds to the cost of a system, because this power consumption should be minimum, heat dissipation should be minimum, so that the packaging part which requires dealing with dissipation of heat also, the cost of that also comes down. So that is why heat dissipation, reducing heat dissipation also reduces cost of system packaging, because it has to deal with lesser dissipation of heat. Also another important part is larger circuit. We have seen in area optimization, larger circuit will have more transistor, it will consume more power, and it will also dissipate more power. So this is also one reason that why we need to have a smaller circuit. So actually you will understand that area and power goes hand in hand. Area and power, area of the circuit and power consumption of the circuit or power optimization part of the circuit goes hand in hand. If area is power optimization will be better. So that is why area and power are directly proportional, and speed is inversely proportional. So that is why we need to see that our circuits are smaller. Now, one more approach for taking care of power consumption is to identify blocks of a system that remain idle for substantial period during system operation. So what do we do? Once we identify such blocks, we remove power from those blocks when they are in idle period. You may have observed some laptop computers also follow this approach. They have a power down option for a different block of the computer or laptop. So for example, it will power down a network card when the computer is not connected to network cable, because that network card need not work if network cable is not inserted. As soon as it is inserted, the network card power is switched on. So working on different block of a complex embedded system and dealing with each block and maintaining the power supply for each block is one of the method to take care of power consumption, and hence it will help in power optimization. So this is number one approach. You can make a note of it. Number one approach is removing power from those blocks who are in idle mode in a complex embedded system. This is one of the method to reduce average power consumption, and it reduces the power consumption significantly. So, but the problem is it's not that simple to implement because various block connected must continue operating if it has a certain signal which need to be used by any other block. And if we abruptly disable that block, it may have a problem of spurious inactivation for the remaining active blocks. So it is one of the option, but it is not that easy to implement. But of course, in a high power optimized circuit, they will go into the complexity of taking care of this part also. Now, also one more important point comes with respect to different power supply or different control of power in different block. The problem is when power is restored into a block, it takes a significant number of clock cycle before the block can resume its operation. And this delay of restarting it or restoring it, this the delay caused because of this may affect the performance. So this technique is appropriate only when this type of delay can be operated. This type of delay can be operated, and this type of delay can be tolerated also. So this is one method. Now the second method is about clock gating. I talked about managing heat dissipation. For managing heat dissipation, you need to see that the size of your digital circuit should not be very high, and also you have to see that the heat dissipation is taken care by the packaging. It should take care of dissipating the heat properly. That all comes under managing heat dissipation. There's one method which I talked where we have to control the power supply to various block of the system. That is the second thing. The third important thing comes under clock gating. So all of you please understand this part carefully. That is about clock gating. Now you all know when you were working with flip-flops, you know that the flip-flops used to have one input that is called as chip enable. So your chip enable used to make the circuit enabled. Also, you know that any flip-flop or any register used to work on a clock signal, and the complete network of flip-flop is also controlled by a global clock signal. Now, you know that each flip-flop contains several transistors. You know that one SR flip-flop contains how many NAND gate, and you also know one NAND gate contains how many transistor. So now you imagine each flip-flop contains several transistor, and all these transistors switch their states on clock edges. As rising edge or falling edge of the clock comes, it switches its state. And the when it is switching the state on the clock edges, it switches the state even when the stored data does not change. Now you know about static power and dynamic power. You have seen this in your module 1. You know that static power consumption we can't do much. That is the inherent quality of the digital circuit. We can't do much. We can do only for dynamic power part. So what is dynamic power? When the transistor changes its state is dynamic power. So what I'm trying to explain is that this transition, when your flip-flop is changing its state, even when the data what is stored in that flip-flop is not changed, then also there will be various occurrence of change of state. So this transition consumes power, and it does not affect computation performed by the circuit. So what we do is, if the performance requirement of a system are not constant, that means if there are periods when high performance required and there are other periods when low performance is acceptable, we can reduce this dynamic power consumption. How we do it? We do it by reducing clock frequency. This I had told yesterday also with your timing optimization, that we can deal with the clock frequency to reduce the dynamic power consumption. but this requires that the source of the clock signal should be adjustable. So to implement this power management through clock frequency control for the real time operating system of an embedded computer is a little complex one, but we need a clock and then we can adjust it with our program control. So this is one method. This does not come under gating. Clock gating I will discuss after this. So what I discussed now is controlling the dynamic power consumption by changing the clock frequency. Changing means what? Reducing the clock frequency. So reducing the clock frequency, you can optimize the power consumption by uh, reducing the dynamic power consumption. This is your second method. Okay, first method was where you had taken care of the power consumption by controlling different block of the system power. Second is by changing the clock frequency. Now third comes your clock gating. Now this clock gating it can be used to reduce power consumption in CMOS system. In CMOS system, this clock gating comes into picture. And what does it do? It turns off the clock to part of the circuit where stored value need not change. Okay, now let us see this waveform. What you can see in this waveform is your clock. You can see that clock is off on this part of this cycle. Now what you can see, when I have made this clock off in this cycle, before the clock was off, your D reflected to Q. After the clock is made off, the change in D does not reflect in Q. So what it means is we can do it, we can turn off the clock to part of the circuit whose value do not need to change. If you need this D change in Q, then of course you can't do this. But if you want to store your certain value and do not want to disturb that register for some time, and the value stored in that register does not need to change, for that time you can simply switch off this clock. So when this switch when the clock only switch off, the state does not change, and when the state does not change, it will not consume any dynamic power. So this is one important thing, but it is used in CMOS systems only. Okay, so we understand that we can do like this now, but the problem is the clock gating is not that easy. It is not that simply you insert one AND gate and switch it off, and whenever you require it, you can make one the second input of AND gate as 1 and clock will start transferring, and you make second input as 0, clock will stop. It means, I mean to say, we can logically think of turning off and on clock clock waveform like this, but it's not that easy. What I am trying to say is, if you want to turn off the clock, it's little difficult. Why? Because if you insert an AND gate like this, there will be a delay of the AND gate also, and if the delay of AND gate comes into picture, it will result in the skewed clock signal, and the clock edges will be skewed. Why? Because of the other circuit which is not having this off part. You imagine there are two part of the circuit. One you had off the clock for some time, and other you did not. After some time you want to on the clock of this second part of the circuit. Now you switch on the clock, but the delay through that AND gate will come into picture, and then the two circuits will not get clock at the same time. So clock skew will happen, and this will be a problem. So it is difficult to meet timing constraint. So what I'm trying to say, that gating a clock is one method, but it is not that easy. We need a special gating control signal which is generated by a clocked control section. So that is that happens with a clocked control section. But even if we have a control signal, as you can see in this second waveform, you have a master clock, you have a control signal. But whenever this control signal tries to turn off the clock, you get a glitch like this. So this glitches, if your circuit is good enough to accept these glitches, then you can go on with this, and you can go on with a clocked control section which can control your power consumption, but it will give rise to certain glitches. And these glitches may cause unreliable triggering of the component when the gate clock is connected. So this is the problem. Further problem. Solution of all these problem is not to express the clock gating in RTL model of the system. Instead, we have a separate tool only for this, which is called as clock insertion tool. So power optimization can be implemented by clock insertion tool during the physical design. And several clock synthesis tool can perform such power optimization. Okay, so let me recap what we have done under power optimization. Number one, we understood why we need less power consumption, because we have many mobile battery operated devices. Second thing is from where we can, how it increases the cost is more power consumption, more power dissipation, more methods required in packaging of the system to take care of heat dissipation. Second thing was that we can control power consumption by controlling the power supply to different block of the system. Third one was by taking care of the clock frequency. If we try to alter the clock frequency with the specific program control, that also controls your power consumption. Third one was your, fourth one was your clock gating. But we also dealt with the problem in which clock gating is not that very simple to install. Why? Because it can bring clock skew. If we are doing using a special control circuitry, then also it can produce your glitches. So the final call was we have to use clock insertion tool. We have to use clock insertion tool so that we can take care of the glitches and all. But of course it is costly, and but it is required for certain specific type of application.